That's good. Thank you.
All right, Friday, we out here. Good evening, friends and fellow health enthusiasts. I'm Dr. Joaquin Acosta, your guide and confident in the transformative journey of healthcare and wellness. Guys, tonight on this special National Pharmacist Day edition, we're celebrating the unsung heroes of healthcare, my dedicated colleagues and our nation's pharmacists. Their expertise and compassion are cornerstones of community health, and today we honor their invaluable contributions. As CEO of PharmTrue and host of Know Your Pharmacist live stream, I'm thrilled to bring you an array of topics that blend cutting-edge science with human-centric stories. We're delving into the world of innovative health technologies tonight, like the BeamO, a groundbreaking device redefining healthcare monitoring, literally kind of like Men in Black. It's not just about healthcare technology, it's about how these innovations connect us more deeply with our health and those who are helping us, to best manage it. In our Enlightenment Hour, we'll explore the fascinating concept of pandiculation. You ever heard that word before? Pandiculation. This natural, often overlooked action is vital for our muscular health, an elegant dance between body and mind that keeps us agile and attuned. We also take a critical look at the ongoing efforts to reschedule cannabis, a discussion of public safety and changing societal norms. It's a conversation that challenges us to rethink and reevaluate for the betterment of our communities. Join us for Community Spotlight, where we dive into the thrill and excitement of the Wild West Shootout. Last 3 days of racing over here at Vado Speedway Park, reminding us of the joy and adrenaline that comes with community events. As we move through tonight's journey, remember our health is our most precious asset. It's about connecting, learning, and growing together. Let's embrace this opportunity to expand our understanding, challenging our perspectives, and enriching our lives with newfound knowledge and insight. So sit back, relax, and let's embark on this enlightening adventure together. It's not just a live stream, it's a celebration of health, community, and endless possibilities that await us. Welcome, Know Your Pharmacist. Happy Friday, guys. It's been a, heck of a Friday. I'll say that for sure. And I'll just leave it at that. Pharmacist Frontline segment, guys, National Pharmacist Day. So all my colleagues out there, guys, pat yourselves on the back. Pharmacists, you know what you do each and every single day out there for our patients, for our community. Those who I have worked with, those who I've never had the pleasure to work with, much deserved on the recognition there. Maybe if we've professionally, collaborated, if we've, rubbed a little bit. It is what it is. We're all out there for the patients at the end of the day, and I love it, guys. That's what it's about, being in the trenches, man, in the arena. Happy National Pharmacist Day 2024. Thanks, pharmacists, for all you do. Out there fighting for patients is number one, the most fulfilling thing that makes our job satisfying. I like this one quote from the Pharmacy Times article talking about National Pharmacist Day a few years ago. It says, "Well, I think about the value of the pharmacist. I think every pharmacist has a story of a time where pharmacists intervened and impacted somebody's life. The value of the pharmacist is how we take care of our patient." And 100% agreed. Whether or not you may disagree on a certain style in the way you approach something, there's always good reason to make friction a little bit fire. But at the end of the day, our pharmacists are out there, whether it's in the hospitals, in the retail settings, community settings, out there in the telehealth settings, just working by the phone and insurance and everything like that. Pharmacists, you guys know, keep on keeping on, baby. We do what we do. 2024, 100 years ago, pharmacists was inventing Coca-Cola. Right? Think about where this whole entire healthcare industry has went, where pharmacy has went. We need to keep making a difference in people's lives, in our community's lives. Pharmacists have done a wide array of awesome things for our country, for our world. And I just think it's, great day to sit there and reflect on it as a pharmacist charging through, this crazy world that we have. I want to make sure, of course, at the end of the day, healthcare access, getting people taken care of, are my core values, and making sure we do a really good job at that. It's an art, right? An artiste. You gotta love your craft. You gotta love what you do. You gotta be passionate about it, and that's why, I'm here each and every single day, baby. And can't wait to keep doing it. We love it. So, anyways, guys, moving on. Thank a pharmacist each and every single day. Every day is National Pharmacist Day, guys. Right. Just saying. Just kidding. But you guys already know, pharmacists, I think we are a pretty appreciated asset in our healthcare communities. However, when you look at kind of the corporate side of things, pharmacists aren't always the most appreciated. You look at last year and Rite Aid and Walgreens and CVS and the walkouts and all that, but we're not talking about that on National Pharmacist Day today. Anyways, guys, check this one out. Coming out of Men in Black itself, the BeamO revolution, the future of healthcare monitoring. This is pretty cool for all your telehealth kind of opportunities. And, on top of that, guys, it's basically like a little Men in Black device that's not only able to be a stethoscope, it takes temperature, it's got respiratory rate, oxygen levels. It's got it all in one. I mean, right now your smartwatch isn't quite capable. It can't. I don't think it can do your blood sugar, but when you're looking at evaluating heart and lung health and using this kind of device and the assistive mechanisms that having this kind of device in your home, where you could have a doctor on the other side of the right, whatever, maybe computer screen, phone screen, screen, and you're on your side, and you can go and beam yourself with the BeamO, and your doctor can see all your vitals right there, and then you don't even have to have a nurse, come in, or even like some aid assistant come and check your vitals. Like, you don't have to be messing with wires, you don't have to be messing with things like that. And there's cool stuff to highlight for sure. I'm gonna show you guys a little bit of a video about this BeamO over here. Take a look. Let me hold this. Kind of a catchy name too, BeamO.
Doctor in your pocket. This is the Withings BeamO, and it has several different health things they can measure for. It even has a stethoscope in here. Let me show you how it works. We can take our temperature. I'll just have to scan it. It's a hot one. It's a little hot. With the stethoscope, you can measure heart and lung sounds. Your doctor would be telling you where to place it. Yeah, you can hear it yourself. It'll send the recording to an app, but also it'll have a tutorial explaining exactly where you should be placing it so you can send that information to your doctor. The control's a little bit of a knob, so you can kind of go up and down with it. It's not just a single button. It also has an ECG, and it's able to do blood oxygen tracking with a pulse oximeter. So if you click that, come on, no whammies, no whammies. This is measuring blood oxygen and pulse. All right, not too bad, not too bad. 70 beats per minute. Hi there, I'm BeamO. Get it? It BeamOs to your doctor or your phone. The USB-C port is for recharging. It also lets you listen to the stethoscope. You can just stick this in your purse and be able to have something with you wherever you need it. But I like how small it is, and you can just send all this data to an app. With tech like this, telehealth doesn't have to be complicated. Yeah, you could be in a video chat with your doctor, but in real time be able to send them information by just using something this small, this slim. Withings has so many different things to measure your health, and always in very innovative ways. I love seeing what they come out with every year. So this is going to be an interesting one for sure. It's coming out later this year at a price of about $250.
So pretty cool stuff. I mean, all kinds of different assistive health and measurable tech and wearable tech. But in terms of an independent device to sync with your doctors about all your healthcare, like that covers a lot of healthcare metrics with you without you having to prick, without you having to wear anything. you're literally pressing a button, minus the fact that you actually have to remember to go press that button or whatever, even if you're having like a mini health, status change or emergency that your doctor wanted to, check up on. And you can actually have some pretty good data there that can, be truly just beeped out. This is cool. 2024, guys, is literally going to be, a year of, I think it's be a year of innovation, plenty of innovation that's going to just continue to come out. Just the awareness and the rise of AI over the last, couple years is actually starting to, hit obviously your mainstream corporate, and obviously entities there, and whether it's already obviously been in there, but now you're really getting to see kind of the big push on, what's really going to start evolving out of the, technology sectors here in the healthcare world, where you're thinking about healthcare access and how to, increase efficiency across the board. Some of those things, obviously, we are our own little biological machine. We are a wheelhouse of data points that need to be tracked, to be managed. You track those trends over time. There's a reason usually you're having those data points. That's why doctors are looking at what the heck is going on, leading to whatever data points. If you have a combination of high blood pressure, your I don't know, whatever labs are off, you got, right, for instance, high, I don't know, hemoglobin, and your liver function is all compromised, and I don't know, right? So you're looking at different health statuses all over the body to try to thus diagnose, right, and find an acute problem, measuring those data points. Basically, healthcare and technology is getting to that point of how do you get all those data points for somebody in a wheelhouse for thus that human provider to make a clinical decision on, maybe alongside the AI there or whatever that may be. And that collection, and management of those data points can be even more automated, even more machine-based. Doesn't have to be so human dependent. Obviously, some facilities, some workplaces are still pencil and paper everything, fine, but obviously you've now got the other range of things that are using, right, whatever. You can go and get a urinalysis and have the urinalysis get, right, use AI to read your urine to see if you've got, right, a UTI, and it can literally sit there and do a learning on the image and figure it out. So anyways, we talk about this all day long about all the things you're going to be able to apply it in, but it is interesting because it's like this whole entire kind of, almost big curve that's about to start exponentially heading up, because you see that rise of healthcare advances where, first obviously you just had, barely hospitals, and then you started really getting to, track and manage data throughout, healthcare, and then, use that data to thus predict things, to, start making big changes and making, big efforts to help things. And then now we're back on a level of, well, we're so big and we've got these broad applications, but now we need to really personalize everything to every person. You can't sit there and put this blanket out of healthcare and call it that and expect it to just be itself. Like, it still needs to, every single person acutely is still going to be, some sort of, right, specific house of data to manage, right? If you're even just looking at it from a healthcare perspective, but on top of human beings being more than just, flesh bearing data that walks, obviously we have a lot. So it's cool to just see us get to that point of trying to get all those data points somehow, make them easier to acquire for our nurses teams, our hospital teams, our doctor teams. Like, you think of all the data points for just your patient themselves and their family history, and then whatever DNA, like, you could get all the way down to do it. And then, from all the way onto the back end of the patient's interactions at or with the provider, making sure, like, you don't forget the things that you told that patient, making sure the patient doesn't forget the things they told you. You guys are on the same page, working on the same, action items, goals, plans, assessments, right? And all of that doesn't get forgotten. It gets consistently, built on and never never loses speed. It doesn't lose speed whether it's a different healthcare provider in there. It doesn't lose speed whether it's I don't know, right? Somebody calls out or something like that. So again, I mean, yes, people have their favorite doctors. They love them. You should be able to have access to them when you do want them, and to be able to have a conversation with them, especially if you trust them and they know your history and they trust you. That's obviously the most perfect relationship you could ask for. But then on the big scale, it's like knowing that, healthcare and the system in general cannot necessarily achieve that right now. Just got to start kind of working backwards. And that's where tech is going to slowly kind of connect those dots. I'm excited. All right, so moving on, guys. Enlightenment hour. This is a cool one. Let's take a little bit of a look at pandiculation. We're going to listen to a little bit of podcast stint here. But I just recently saw a DO, realized I have upper cross syndrome and lower cross syndrome, that whole, tech neck. I'm doing this all day. And I'm on that computer doing that. I did 10 years of pharmacy on the phone like that, still on the computer like that, right? And so, posture, my body has now, as a 30-year-old, evolved to, shape these weird conditions of work because I'm not necessarily getting my movement all day. But either way, now that I'm really trying to relook at that, I'm learning, part of just obviously how your body wants to move and things, and in the resetting process of trying to get, my shoulders put back to where they need to go, I'm learning. And pandiculation is something that was shown to me over it's my DO, what is his name? Dr. LeBoy. So he's here in town, and I believe he's the DO for the New Mexico State Aggies, travels with them. And this is pretty cool. But, I didn't get this exact talk from him, but he did a great job so far, and I can't wait to see him again. Anyways, take a little listen.
Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me for the second episode of the Soma podcast. I'm Sarah, and I'm a clinical somatic educator and the author of The Pain Relief Secret. In the first episode, we talked about what somatics is, what makes a movement somatic, and what somatic education is.
Movement, right?
And then at the end of the episode, I segued into the topic of pandiculation. So in this episode, we'll be talking about what pandiculation is. If you look up a definition of pandiculation, it's defined as the act of stretching oneself and yawning, especially upon waking. But our automatic pandicular response has much more significance than simply prompting us to stretch and yawn. Pandiculation is our nervous system's natural way of waking up our sensory motor system and preparing us for movement. It's also our natural way of releasing tension that's built up in our muscles. So pandiculation is our innate response to the sensations of lack of movement and to tension building up in our muscles, which often go hand in hand. Humans, along with all vertebrate animals, tend to automatically pandiculate when we wake up or when we've been sedentary for a while. If you've ever seen a dog or cat arch their back when they get up from a nap, or watched a baby stretch their arms and legs as they wake up, you've witnessed pandiculation. We can observe fetuses pandiculating in the womb, which shows how deeply ingrained the pandicular response is in our nervous system and how fundamental it is to our musculoskeletal functioning. When you see a baby or an animal pandiculating, it might look at first glance like they're just stretching, but what they're doing is actually very different than the typical static stretching that adult humans do. They're actually contracting the muscles that have become tight or inactive. When we contract and then release muscles that have been tight or inactive, it sends biofeedback to our nervous system about the level of contraction in those muscles. This biofeedback naturally resets the gamma loop, a feedback loop in our nervous system that regulates the level of tension in our muscles. So basically, pandiculation tells the gamma loop, hey, you're letting the resting level of tension in these muscles get a little too high. Then the gamma loop adjusts and reduces the baseline level of tension a little bit. So if you pandiculate your muscles every day, your muscles will continue to get looser and more relaxed over time. It's the reverse of the learning process you've been doing your entire life, which is doing repetitive physical activities and experiencing stress, both of which contribute to increasing the resting level of tension in your muscles. So why don't we usually see adult humans pandiculating? Well, as we get older and we develop deeply learned habitual ways of standing and moving, our natural pandicular response can become inhibited. Even if we do spontaneously pandiculate once in a while, it's not enough to counteract the muscle tension we build up from our repetitive, stressful lifestyles. So our muscles become tighter and tighter as we age. This leads to chronic pain, poor posture, stiff movement, and repetitive injuries. And then our bodies start to break down. Our discs bulge and rupture, and the cartilage in our joints wears away. And we think that this is all an inevitable part of aging. The truth is, it's not inevitable, but it does require conscious intervention in order to reverse the negative side effects of developing muscle memory. During the 1970s and 80s, a brilliant man, Dr. Thomas Hanna, studied the neurophysiology of pandiculation. At that time, he was a student of Moshe Feldenkrais, a well-known somatic movement educator. So Hanna was already working with people who had chronic pain and posture and movement issues. As he explored how to turn pandiculation into a voluntary movement, he found that it directly addressed the habitual muscle tension that was the underlying cause of his students' pain. So Hanna developed this technique which we now call voluntary pandiculation. It's a slow, gentle, concentric contraction followed by an even slower eccentric contraction, which is the action of muscles that are engaged while they lengthen under load. But it's performed in a very specific way so that it sends accurate biofeedback to the nervous system, with the intention of releasing muscle tension and restoring voluntary control to the muscles. Hanna went on to develop hands-on movements and self-care exercises that made use of his technique of voluntary pandiculation. He called his method of neuromuscular education clinical somatic education, which is also known as Hanna somatic education. Voluntary pandiculation quickly reduced his students' muscle tension, and since this was accomplished through learning in the nervous system rather than passive manipulation, the effects were usually long-lasting. Hanna would first teach pandiculations that focused on contracting and releasing small groups of muscles. Once his students began to reduce their involuntary muscle tension, he taught them larger movements that integrated their muscular releases into natural, efficient, full-body movement patterns. Hanna's technique of voluntary pandiculation was groundbreaking. He had students travel across the country to have sessions with him, and he taught workshops to groups of hundreds of people in hotel conference rooms. But in 1990, Hanna was killed in a car accident. He had just started teaching his first professional training program so that others could learn how to teach the method that he had created. So when he passed away, there were 38 students who were only partially trained. And that's why you may never have heard of Hanna's method, because his work came to a near halt when he suddenly passed away. Thomas Hanna's widow, Eleanor Criswell, and some of his trainees passionately carried on his work. They worked with his long waiting list of students and went on to create future training programs. The field of clinical somatic education has been growing slowly and steadily since then. And in 2022, a study of voluntary pandiculation and Hanna somatic education was published in a peer-reviewed journal for the first time. This was a huge step forward for the clinical somatics and Hanna somatics community. The study evaluated the effect of one-on-one Hanna somatic education sessions in 103 patients with chronic lower back pain and/or neck pain. After completing an average of just 2.8 sessions, followed by practicing the exercises at home, the patient's lower back pain decreased by 81% and their neck pain decreased by 80%. Of the patients with back pain who had been using medication to manage their pain, their use of medication was reduced by 87.5%, and of the patients with neck pain, their use of medication was reduced by 73%. The reduction in frequency of doctor's visits over the course of 6 months was reduced by 84% for back pain patients and 83% for neck pain patients. These results are outstanding. Since the results of the study were so significant, I'm really optimistic that this will help pave the way for future research on pandiculation. Pandiculation is so fundamental to maintaining our health that I see it as being equal to exercising and eating a healthy diet. If we want to prevent musculoskeletal pain, poor posture, limited movement, and structural breakdown as we age, we must pandiculate our muscles every day. Now, pandiculation is the big thing that makes clinical somatics so effective, but it's not the only thing. There are also some movements in clinical somatics that aren't pandiculations, but instead work with learning healthy, full-body patterns of movement. There are also proprioceptive exercises, which teach you how to retrain your posture by correcting how you sense your body in space. That's what proprioception means. It's your internal sense of your body position. So in these first 2 episodes, I've covered some of the basics of what clinical somatics is and how it works. In future episodes, I'll be talking about common pain conditions like back pain, iliopsoas syndrome, functional leg length discrepancy, and many others. And I'll be coming back to some more general topics like principles and theory of clinical somatics and how to approach your personal practice of the movements. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you next time.
So, right, pretty cool. And I mean, how to release that actual tension that your nervous system truly builds up in those muscles. Like for me, of course, hunching in, squeezing in, creating, inefficient ways for my body to even have to sit there and hold itself up where my tightness is up here in my neck and my traps and, my lats are not even being used. And so, these things evolve over time and all of a sudden, right? I mean, I feel 30 and super old, right? But you can only imagine how, these arthritic pains and some of these things that we have over time that comes from, muscle tightness, nervous system pain that's locking things in, and then bone growth happens because of that, right, over time. And so, pretty cool stuff here in town. I mean, highly refer Dr. Francisco Laboy out there. I mean, he does not have he's not open 24/7 because he is a one-man show and he's also the NMSU DO. But man, this guy's fascinating to talk to. And so, learning some of that stuff was pretty cool. Guys, let's move on. Now that I'm sitting up straight and enjoying my conversation with you. Happy Friday, everybody. So this is cool. Good news for cannabis. Those shopping cannabis this weekend, go check out High Horse. You got great deals all weekend long. Absolutely. For sure. And I'm not sure if it's going to, deals, I don't know how long all deals last for by any means. So I'm not going to sit there and try to say that I know those things. But right now there's some really good deals on your concentrates, on your flour, on some really good quality stuff. Go get some of my 1-to-1 gummies, baby. Highly recommend that. Chaparral, you already know. Las Cruces, you already know. Hobbs. Guys, if you're a healthcare provider, send your people to High Horse to get Farm True, 1-to-1 products, or send them downtown to our dispensary. We're shortening our hours for a shorter window until our big premiere later this year, second half year. It's gonna be in May. But our little dispensary's 11 to 5 right now. And then we are doing, obviously, our manufacturing and everything like that. But, anyways, now that I'm done hyping this up, 12 state attorneys general tell DEA to reschedule cannabis. I don't love the word marijuana. I know we put it because it's what the article says. But anyways, as a public safety imperative. But, and I know this one to me isn't about, Democrat, Republican, I get it. But here, coalition of 12 Democratic state attorneys general is urging the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, to move forward with the federal cannabis rescheduling, calling policy change a public safety imperative. In a letter by Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser that was sent to DEA Administrator Ann Milgram on Friday, the top state law enforcement officials said, "We're encouraged to see U.S. Department of Health and Human Services recommend cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 in the interest of public health and safety. And for these reasons, we encourage the DEA to implement a final rule rescheduling cannabis Schedule 3 based on the Federal Drug Administration scientific and medical conclusions. We see this as a public safety imperative and right in support of this policy change." And, if you guys were seeing, I was talking about this a little earlier this week, where the DEA really is kind of starting to get in this super crimp because you've got the Health and Human Services Department, you've got politicians, attorney generals from the state, and then obviously you've got, pretty much an entire voting base, which is probably going to be a big, issue, as it always is, but it's getting now wedged into a public safety, need where we've got all kinds of different, cannabinoids that are being kind of manufactured to just get out there on the market in the gas stations, on the legal market, messing one part of the chemical there, but creating some synthetic nightmares in some cases that are out there legal just because they're not the Delta 9 THC that grew out of the ground, right? And again, we all know cannabis plants are not just bred for Delta 9 THC. We've got over 200 plus phytocannabinoids in those plants. You got terpenes, flavonoids, different combinations of such, and they all work for everybody just a little bit differently. And for us to be able to study that and get that data on that and figure out how to, help the opioid epidemic. Imagine a day where we cure opioid addiction, right? Imagine a day where, we cure cancer. Imagine a day where we help with mental health problems, right? And actually start helping people, really come to, fixing themselves and enjoying life, right? All those things can be very, very achievable with cannabis as a part of, our healthcare system. Imagine a day where chronic pain is better managed from things such as just ibuprofen, right? Things that blow up your kidneys and your blood pressure. Imagine. And those are the days that we are going to see someday, and I surely feel it. And, right now, because obviously cannabis has been shown a lot of the times as a more left-sided, agenda. I think by even forcing it into one side of the political spectrum is annoying, because we should just think about American healthcare as a single thing, and it's not, a conservative or a, liberal thing one way or another. It's just, healthcare, chronic pain, right? Epilepsy, so many things, autism, ADHD, PTSD, we could go on and on. New Mexico has 31, appropriate medical uses for cannabis. The United States has 0 because currently it's Schedule 1. All right, guys, I'll move on. Stop my rant. You hear me rant about that all the time. You always do. Appreciate you listening. Shouting out the Wild West Shootout at Vado Speedway Park, guys. It's been one heck of a week with the racing. Tonight makes it a week out there at Vado. These drivers have been coming in from all over the country, obviously Canada and Mexico too. They're all over your North American continent. You might even have some Aussies there as well. Over at Vado Speedway Park, they are there, boys in a playground, staying for a week and a half, getting their cars prepped up, racing their faces off for some big money. Bobby Pierce has been tearing it up in the late models. For those of you guys who know who Bobby Pierce is, Cade Dillard, who won the Fall Nationals over at Vado Speedway Park's now literally torn up the modifieds, the A-mods class, and he's been absolutely skating through it. He's in for some big money. I think $15,000 extra if he wins all those races in that. So, not only is there going to be $25,000 on the line on Sunday, Cade Dillard might be out here setting some extreme records and etching his names into the annals of Vado Speedway Park. But guys, those stories just keep going on and on and on. There's 3 more days. Wild West Shootout of racing. Tickets showing you online, available at the gate, $30 as well. Pit passes are separate to go into those pits, but guys, they're full with literally the best race car dirt track drivers in the country. Kyle Larson, the best race car driver in the world, is at Vado in the pits. You go talk to him, you go see him, right? It's insane. Anyways, all right, last thing, we'll finish this one up. Super Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. Who you guys got? I'm going to make my picks. There's going to be some good games tomorrow, Sunday. We got Browns, Texans. I'm going with CJ Stroud. What do you guys think about that? The Browns. I don't know right now. Dolphins, Chiefs. Heard it's going to be negative degrees. Tyreek Hill versus his old peeps. I like the idea of Tyreek Hill sending Taylor Swift home early. I'm picking the Dolphins. Steelers at Bills. Josh Allen. I think he's going to lead his team to victory. Packers and the Cowboys. Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers did us dirty back in the day. I think maybe twice or once for sure, but I think twice. You had the Dez caught it game, and then there was another time that they came to our house. So anyways, Mike McCarthy has won Super Bowl with the Packers. Doesn't have anything with the boys. They've been trending up, but at the same time, everybody gives the Cowboys their best. So I don't really know. I'm picking the Cowboys, but, I say that because I don't want to get hung up to dry. I'm a Cowboys fan, and I've lived and died on that sword for an entire life. And, when you talk about chronic stress, these guys are a big source of that for me. So just pull back, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic here that the Cowboys are going to pull through. Rams and Lions, guys. Going for the Lions. And I actually do think the Lions are going to make it happen. Dan Campbell, fantastic human being, great leader, great coach. And I know the Rams had that, ability to rest some of their players and things last week and get a little high, Matt Stafford and all that. But, it's going to take a team that really can lock in and believe to beat that kind of, firepower there. And the Detroit Lions might be able to just slow them down. They've got a running game. They can do it to you in many different ways. And their defense can be on when they want to be. So with a good leader there, I'm picking them. Other than that, guys, have a great night. Have a great, fantastic weekend. Go down to Vado. Enjoy your weekend.